the best known Pakistani celebrity in the world.
Well, I met Imran when he just won with the team. I was an MTV presenter, and then suddenly I learned about Islamic values.
How Imran Khan introduced Islam to you.
It is true. I mean, I was introduced to your beautiful religion and culture by Imran.
Hello, my dear audience. I'm Sohail Qureshi with my show Sharp Edge from our London studios. And I have a very exciting guest today, Kristiane Baker, who is a brand in herself and needs no more introduction. She is German by origin, but she converted to Islam quite a few decades ago. And before that, she has an amazing career. And she wrote a lovely book called MTV, From MTV to Mecca. Very exciting journey Kristiane has. And without any further ado, I introduce you to our very prestigious guest. Thank you very much, Kristiane, for coming into our studio.
Thank you very much.
So I was really meaning to speak to you for a very long time, and now we met, and I'm very grateful that you're here. So we will talk in a very friendly manner and a very informal manner, and I think people would like to know the actual Kristiane Baker from starting from your birth, where you were born, and your journeys and all that, and I'll divide into in 2 or 3 different parts, okay. Right? So just tell us, our audience, so where were you born, about your family, and...
Well, I was born in Hamburg, in northern Germany, and I have a sister, went to school there, and when I was 16, I became an exchange student. I went to America for 1 year, so that broadened my horizons and my, vision to
probably in the 70s or 80s, right?
No, not 70s. It was in
80s.
Yeah, 80, yeah,
Exactly. When you were, yes. Okay, when you went to America. Right?
Exactly.
I see, okay.
Yes. And I loved it so much. I went to Portland, Oregon. And, stayed with 2 families in a lovely private school where we
West Coast, right?
The teachers by their first names and had very small classes, nutrition and bird watching and painting. We went to the teacher's personal home on the seaside, and it was just a magical time at school. I'm still in touch. The second family was a Jewish family. They were very hospitable, me being German, and I'm still dear friends with with my guest sister. In fact, we became blood sisters. We slit our thumbs and exchanged blood.
Very romantic, yeah. All those 30, 40 years ago, and you're still together, actually.
Yes, I'm still
that shows the bond that you developed.
Yes.
And America, especially at that time, was a land of freedom.
Yes. And opportunity.
And opportunity.
Yeah.
And human rights.
Yes.
And very welcoming as opposed to what we see now.
And everybody looked up to America in Europe. America was something to aspire to. So you wanted to go there. We were thankful as Germans for what they did in the Second World War, helping them, when they were starving in Germany, etc. And it's all, rather different now.
Yeah, that's interesting. But maybe some other at the time with that discussion, the post-World War II Germany, the destroyer become the savior, right? In a way. But and then you went to university, right? And
actually, no. I went to. I did my high school exams and wanted to see what I want to do, and I ended up working for discovering basically that I had a curiosity, and I became a radio journalist. I did a practical education as a radio journalist for 2 years in a radio station. I wanted to study medicine. I had very good grades, but I just jumped into this. There were all these new private radio stations like Capital Radio opening up in Hamburg at the time in the mid-80s. So I jumped onto that. In 87, I started with that. In 89, I was finished after 2 years. By that time, I had landed a job in London because with my, you see, with my knowledge about English and abilities to speak English, Hamburg became very small for me, very fast.
And at that time, English was not a very important language. So not many people could speak.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I had been to America, etc. I wanted to be somewhere else than in Hamburg, and England had become my dream destination. You speak English, and it's nearby. So I could visit my family, etc. So I was dreaming of working or finding a job in England. So first of all, I actually went on a holiday. I went with my friends to the Nelson Mandela concert by bus. And we overnight bus, etc. We went to this amazing concert with all the bands and everything. And at that same time, I went for an interview with Capital Radio. But for some reason,
a job.
Yeah, for a job. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And but I didn't get that job. And why? Because it turned out, it was a dear friend's birthday in Hamburg, and I had to leave early, so I had to cancel the interview and go at another time. So that I guess I didn't like that very much. Any case, so I didn't land that job. But shortly afterwards, a friend of mine told me about an advert in the paper, in like a Time Out, local equivalent to Time Out, where they were advertising a job with MTV. They were looking for presenters, German presenters, and it said, if you get the job, you must move to London. So not that
dreams come true.
Yeah, not that MTV was something I had aspired to or even watched much when I was in America as an exchange student. I watched it once or twice. It wasn't really, but the carrot, you move to London when you get the job. That is why I applied. And miraculously, I got the job. After...
In 1980...
This was I started in 1989. So I applied in 88 while I was still at the radio station. And, you needed to write a review of a video. And there were no videos on air at the time. So I had, it was a lot of research went into it. And then they asked me to come for an audition to Berlin. And you know what? When I first of all was very happy, but then I realized the date, and the date was the day after the Prince show in Hamburg, and I was a very big Prince fan, and I was looking forward to going to the after show party, etc. So I called MTV at that time. Berlin was in Eastern Germany, and it would take about 4 hours by train to get to Berlin. So there was no way I could be fit at 9 a.m.
It was before the Berlin Wall fell.
Yeah, exactly. So there was no way I could make it. So I called up MTV and explained my dilemma. And luckily, they were all Prince fans as well. And they completely understood. And they changed the, the audition to another day.
Otherwise, you could have said the doves will cry.
Yeah,
famous song.
I know, Purple Rain. Yeah. And so all, the audition, all I needed to do was talk about the Prince concert, etc. And I got the job.
Wow. Excellent.
So then I moved to London in January 89.
You didn't have much prior experience in
none whatsoever in television, just radio.
MTV was big at that time. MTV was really, really big.
It was very big in America, and it had just launched in Europe. It launched in 87, and and in the beginning of 89, I came.
And then you moved to London.
Yeah, I moved to London, yes.
Okay, so how was it? How did London treat you?
I loved it. Absolutely. I had a fabulous time. If you come with a great job.
Where did you stay?
I lived in Notting Hill.
Okay, wow.
So straight away lived in Notting Hill, and and was invited to all the parties and met a lot of wonderful people. And MTV was a bunch of young people working there, a great atmosphere, and often they hang out in the evenings. And I had become friends at this famous Prince concert in Hamburg at the after show party. Somebody came up and tapped on my shoulder and said, the manager would like to meet you. And so I got to go to the second time to the Prince concert the following day to meet the manager.
Manager of
Prince.
Of Prince.
And then I hang out with the whole...
Just random, just like that.
Yes, because we were dancing. I was a great fan, and they just noticed me, for some reason. And so Stephen Fagnoli, bless him, he passed away by now. God rest his soul. He moved to London at the same time. So, and we became friends, you see. We became great friends. And he was like a big American mogul, entertainment mogul, who kind of looked out for me a little bit, And it was just so nice. And I had such a great circle of friends and a lot of fun things we always did.
You're a fascinating personality, and I'm sure that was the time. And actually, that was a very good time because the communism was falling. Berlin Wall fell.
Shortly after
that. And there was kind of a hope. And
Wind of Change.
Felicita song, remember? Albano Power and Romina.
Yes.
Albano and Romina Power.
Yes, I know that.
It was that time. Yeah.
And then Wind of Change, the Scorpions, that was all about the wall coming down. And there was a whole huge change going on globally. A very positive feeling, that the Cold War's over and, now we'll all be friends, etc.
And how long did you stay in the MTV?
Yeah, and I got to interview rock stars for a living around the world, which is quite a pleasure. I stayed till 1995. Longer than a lot of other VJs. Normally, in fact, and then they called me back for another half a year or a year, and then it was finished. So it was finished in 96 properly. It was
thoroughly enjoyed
brilliant.
it. And,
thoroughly enjoyed it. Met David Bowie. It went on the road with Prince. Interviewed the Rolling Stones, etc.
Is it true David Bowie's eyes, they do not match? Right?
Yeah.
Is it? And you can see
he had different eyes, yes. And I met him at the
green and blue, right?
Yes. Okay. And quite tall, thin. And I met him at the launch of VH1, the program for slightly older sort of classic songs, in Germany, in Hamburg, actually.
He was born in Brixton, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And you know what?
He was born in Brixton. That's right.
And that photograph in my book, he asked for a picture with me. Can you believe it? Someone came to me and he said, David wants a picture with you. And I said,
the one which is in this book.
That's right. And so then I suddenly was standing in front of him and we were chatting. And, I asked him has he been back to Berlin? Because remember, he did a whole album he recorded in Berlin. And he said, no, not since the wall came down. He hadn't been back. But did you know he was actually, he had a Muslim wife, Iman, this top model from Ethiopia, and his half-sister is also Muslim.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time either. Otherwise, I would have asked him.
Yeah, that's you White Wedding and Rebel Yell and...
White Wedding was Billy Idol. But he did, so many other good songs.
Rebel Yell, yeah?
Ground Control to Major John, Major Tom, many others. Yeah.
So that was the time...
Heroes. Best one, Heroes.
That's right, yeah. It's coming back to me. So that was the time when you met many celebrities, and one of them is very important to our Pakistani audience. And the best known Pakistani celebrity in the world, I think even until now.
Probably, yeah.
And who was he?
Well, I met Imran when he just won with the team the World Cup for Pakistan, which was correct.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you that. Yeah. Yes. So it was in May 92. We met at a dinner party.
In London.
In London, exactly. And it was a really interesting encounter because he had a different viewpoint from other people about certain things we discussed, like, for example, a film. What was it called again? Some film that was, very suggestive and had a lot of scenes in it. And he said, in my country, this would be censored, because privacy is for husband and wife alone, etc. And he had these very different viewpoints, about things. So it was very interesting, yeah.
So how was he like? I know people have talked about it, and you also mentioned that
outspoken about his views and everything. And then I later on got the pleasure of going to Pakistan. He invited people from England on trips to Pakistan. So I was very happy to discover a whole different world. This beautiful country,
totally different culture,
completely different in so many regards. The smells, the food,
and the curry,
beautiful fabrics, the colors, the architecture, and then the mountains. We went to the mountains. I joined.
Before we go to mountains, I'm sure that the beautiful princess that you were, everybody would like to touch you. All the women around, because I know that you met Imran Khan's family as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Actually, so
They
how
were
was
very
that?
friendly.
How were
Yeah, they were very
Pakistani
friendly.
women take you?
Lovely, very, very warm, very friendly, very, they gave me gifts and like the pattas and shawls and took me shopping mainly, and
So did you wear
just
Pakistani
chatting.
dresses?
Of course, of
course.
course. Yes, when in Rome,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes,
And
of
now
course. And I
coming to
love wearing them.
Yeah.
I find them very pretty and very feminine, very,
Okay, so now let's move on to your northern area visits, because you were earlier telling me, and we had a little chat, that it's one of the few jewels.
most outstanding places in the world I've ever visited. The northern areas of Pakistan, Skardu, Chitral, various other places, Hunza,
Yes,
etc.
Hunza, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go in summer or
Yeah, in summer. In summer
yes.
to the northern areas. Yeah, exactly.
and you
Between
really
May
enjoyed
and
it.
September, yeah.
And I was unadulterated and
Fresh air.
fresh air.
So impressive. And when you drive, you see how the scenery is
You were telling me about this dried river beds and the stones that you collected from there.
Yeah, in Skardu, I picked up, we were walking and hiking and everything, and on these dry river beds and up into the mountains, I just discovered these incredible gemstones, quartzes, and citrine, bright green, and amethyst and rose quartz and crystals, and it was just so magical, and I couldn't help myself but coming back with two really heavy bags of stones.
Have you been there again, or how many times have you been there?
I can't even lost count, probably 15 times altogether.
Okay,
To Pakistan or
okay.
more. Yeah. Afterwards, yes, I came back after, when Imran became president, etc., prime minister. No, I went back with charities several times.
Okay. So we should give you an honorary Pakistani nationality then.
Inshallah. If I can have 3, because I'm already British also. With pleasure.
Okay. So now I was, when I was researching about you, and I came across a beautiful video of yours in which you mentioned that how Imran Khan introduced Islam to you,
Yes.
and then his character, his integrity, with his words really impress you. So just tell us, I know there's a reputation, but that's
okay.
very, very interesting for our audience to know.
Yes, well, thank you for asking. Yeah, it is true. I was introduced to your beautiful religion and culture by Imran Khan. And he was just at the time, and then in the 90s, he was in the process of discovering his faith, discovering his Iman. And he often went to Islamic bookstores. I accompanied him, and he discussed the books with me and gave me books initially also to read. First one was Man and Islam by Ali Shariati. Yeah, really good book, which talked about Western civilization. What are they doing for the elderly? What is it criticizing a critique on Western philosophy or civilization, whereas the East and Muslim civilization is so very different. The family system, etc. And a lot of things actually intrigued me. And I was always interested, I must tell you, in spirituality. Even in the radio station, I did a lot of programs on spiritual matters.
You were born Christian, right?
Yeah, I'm born
Catholic,
Christian.
Protestant.
Protestant in the north.
In the north, yes.
And I did a program on
very Calvinistic kind of.
and the Ouija board, but didn't practice it like that. But Protestant, I'm not sure about Calvinistic so much, but Protestant, not Catholic.
Because Martin Luther.
Yeah, Martin
was
Luther.
From, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So in the north, I think most people are Protestant, but they don't. I tell you, the church turned me off when they started having rock concerts and things.
Yes.
And because it just doesn't really bring you to God.
Yes.
You see, I felt that's inappropriate type of thing, and so I always had this philosophical interest and spiritual interest and a fun-loving side. So then the fun-loving side took over for a little while with MTV and all of that. But, by the time I was already then in my mid-20s, Imran came along and he was really passionate about discovering Islam and the concepts. And he read a lot of books that I then also read. For example, The Destiny of Man in Islam, Gay Eaton. Road to Mecca.
Yeah,
by
Road to Mecca.
famous.
Until with the,
God, what's
I think that's one of the
Muhammad Asad.
Muhammad Asad, yeah,
was
one of the
also-
pivotal books at that time. Yes.
Yeah, really
The
good.
very
book.
first one. Yes.
Fantastic. And then Professor Akbar Ahmed, he wrote some good books on Islam. He did a good series, television series, Living Islam, and many, many more books, and we, and
But Muhammad Asad book in 1940s, or that was one of the time,
Yeah.
one of the kind of darker times of for the Muslim countries, basically.
Yeah, but he got to know, he was a journalist from Austria, Jewish background, and he was a journalist at the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, etc. And he spent time in the Arabic world and was enamored and touched and really so deeply attracted by their ways and by their hospitality and by the fire
family
in their
values
eyes, the family values. And then he kept going back to Berlin, taking the metro and describing how it is. He takes every day the same metro at the same time, sees the same people, and nobody talks to each other. Everybody is so cold. And it can happen to you here in London as well. Whereas when you go to the east, to Pakistan, for example, or the Arab world, people have that warmth and
By the time you
hospitality,
finish
etc.
a 3 hours journey, you know everybody about, everything about each other. And sometimes you wed your son with the other's daughter. You get so close. That's the joke in Pakistan,
Funny, yes. So there you go. So, it was a big, because obviously I was in a very different environment, MTV, and I was an MTV presenter. And then suddenly I learned about Islamic values. And, I had prejudices, of course, and didn't know much about it. And so women, and what about the role of women? So I read books for literally 3 years. I asked 1,000 questions, and then he introduced me to the author of Islam and the Destiny of Man, Gay Eaton. Somebody arranged a meeting so I could ask. And also we met Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam.
Yes, I also did. I was very young. I met with him in Pakistan.
To ask questions, etc. But he had been on a bit of a Wahhabi journey at the time. So his answers weren't very convincing to me at the time,
Very Spartan and very puritanic.
He's now changed. He's now come to...
I hear that,
Yeah, exactly. He's now back on stage. He's playing music. But at that time, in the 90s or late 80s, it was, it wasn't...
So your journey was very kind of well thought out. So you researched. So you had his quest for the truth.
Yes.
Emptiness, and you wanted to know what's going on.
Exactly.
And then, so it's a very well thought.
So it was an intellectual journey. I read a lot, I researched, and these concepts that Islam talks about, many things. For example, that we are only responsible for our own sins. As a German, that's a big burden off your shoulder, that I am actually not responsible for what they did in the Third Reich. I'm responsible for my own mistakes.
Own conduct.
And I can delete my mistakes by doing tawbah, by asking forgiveness to God and to the person who I offended, So in Catholicism, once you've done a mistake, the sin is always over you.
Yeah.
In Islam, there are ways of trying to ask for forgiveness, and then inshallah, God is forgiving.
And corrective measures.
Yeah.
Catharsis and self-analysis.
Yeah.
And the deep kind of...
then making amends, And so many concepts, or that, babies are born not with this original sin,
yes.
but pure.
The very Christian concept, and that's why Jesus Christ gave his life at the cross.
Yeah,
and I
2,000 years ago, he's absolved everybody, whoever will come from their sins.
Yeah.
So what happened to accountability? See, all of that doesn't make sense. And when I started looking and understanding Islam, actually, it's logical. It makes a lot of sense. It's has to be true.
When did you do your Shahada?
So basically, when I was first very attracted by the culture of Pakistan and by the Muslims I met. So it was a human attraction on a human level. Then the intellectual journey. And the last thing was, I felt I wanted to practice. I felt I wanted to reap and feel some of those benefits in my own life. And I realized Islam is not just an academic exercise. If you want to feel it and benefit and reap the fruits, you've got to get down on the prayer mat, start practicing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And start
Prostrate
fasting.
in front of Allah.
Exactly. Yes. And so that was in April 95. Well, I was no longer friends with Imran at the time.
Wow.
And so I did it for myself.
He ignited the light.
Yeah.
And
And as soon as flame was alight, God took him away out of my life, and I was on my own, finding my way to God. Alhamdulillah.
well, that's amazing. Yeah. It's an amazing journey because I remember you in my heydays of MTV. Yes, so I know you for a very long time.
Oh my God.
Yes, so it's obviously it's a great honor to sit here and to talk some very deep, emotive topics with you.
Thank you.
So that's a very interesting and fascinating journey. So how, as a Western woman, really imbued in the very core of Western culture at that time, including the MTV. I'm sorry that I keep reverting there.
Yeah,
but
sure.
That was the core of it.
Yeah.
And kind of religion where you have to be totally like diametrically opposite.
Well, okay, good question. So very slowly, my clothes changed. My dresses became longer. At the time, grunge was the fashion, so people didn't really notice. So it's still fashionable, But I didn't, I was more demure type of thing, but still trendy. I tried to. Yeah. But how was the reaction? And how did people react to it? So. I had also at the time my own youth program in Germany, and one journalist did his research really well and asked me, so how, have you already converted to Islam for your boyfriend? And I said, I don't have a boyfriend, and I'm not a Muslim, but I said, I'm a Muslim at heart. I said, I'm a Muslim at heart. And that little line practically ended my career. Because then in the next day, is she going to move behind the burqa? Is she becoming first lady of Pakistan? Is she supporting terrorism? One article after the next. And shortly afterwards, I actually went on holiday to, would you believe, Palestine. And I was a brand new Muslim by that time.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get into Al-Aqsa because I didn't know the Fatiha yet. I was literally brand new, like a month, And I came back and I read that another presenter is hosting my show. I was
Just like
sacked
that?
From the German youth show. Just like that, although they had begged me to do it for another year and the contract was freshly signed and I had won awards and everything. Yeah. And then at the end of that year, also MTV didn't renew the contract. But then they called me back for another half year, but the contract wasn't renewed. Yeah, so a huge amount of Islamophobia. That is what I encountered, you see, with my decision.
So it did not dissuade you because obviously somebody who has a life, career, pay bills and all that. And
luckily I found another program a little bit later with NBC Europe, where I then interviewed not just musicians, but also film actors and designers and opera singers and Yehudi Menuhin, Placido Domingo, all these wonderful people. So alhamdulillah, that lasted another 2 years. But obviously it was a big shock, if you can imagine. 1 minute you're the darling, award-winning TV presenter. The next minute you're public enemy number one.
Yeah.
It's like
How did your family and your close friends take it? Your parents and sister?
Yeah, it took a little while to explain to them. We used to had a lot of
No hostilities?
No hostilities, no. They didn't really understand it, no matter how much I tried to explain. But if I'm happy, they were always supportive of my choices.
They must have thought there's some magic has happened to you or somebody. Did a voodoo on you.
Yeah, they thought it was a passing trend. And next thing, I'll be something else. But then they realized, actually, it's doing me good. I'm now a more considerate family member. I'm a better person. I'm becoming a slightly better person, less self-centered type of thing,
So, and mashallah, it's now over 30 years.
Yeah, 95. Where are we now?
95.
Nearly.
Yeah, nearly 39.
Can you imagine? That's a long time.
Yes. And so how was this whole journey until now? And then we'll move on to your next phase of your life.
Alhamdulillah. It was a colorful journey. Eventually, I wanted to make my contribution about this journey. About the Islamophobia and the misunderstandings between Islam and the West, basically. So I decided to write my book. In fact, I was asked by a journalist to write my book, to write a book. So I did it. Alhamdulillah. And this is it's a little contribution of how it was to become a Muslim. What are the steps? What is it like? What are the family reactions? Because also a lot of Muslims tell you something, and often you realize what they say is maybe from their culture. It might not be Islamic, So then you're being told all sorts of things that you have to then learn as a new Muslim to go back to the sources and actually double check. Is this really truly Islamic, or is it perhaps Arabic culture or Afghani culture or whatever culture? You know what I mean? So you have to make so I have a lot to learn. It's a huge learning curve.
But Kristiane, you have made a huge contribution to Islam and to Pakistan, which probably don't remember or you don't recognize that one. And I can tell you why. Because in 90s was probably one of the worst times for Muslims because of not only Islamophobia, but also the world was expanding. If those anti-Muslim sentiments were kind of under the carpet because of the media, it was more prevalent. And you being the icon of the Western female model or MTV girl,
Thank you.
converting into a religion which many people thought very orthodox,
Very strict,
ancient, very strict, misogynist,
antiquated.
and that's the least. Worst is satanic and terrorist.
That's why I wanted to write this
That
book.
is why your
To show people the truth.
to the conversion, or some people might want it to the reversion to Islam, is huge. So that's just like what Muhammad Asad did with his book, Road to Mecca. And that is what you're contributing. That's why I and millions of people respect you so much.
Thank you. It's very, very kind of you. I hope I just, as a communicator, as a presenter, journalist, I had to make my contribution. I had to speak out. Because you see, every day I see how Islam is misportrayed in the media, and I know something different, something better. I know it's completely different to what they're saying. So it was my desire, just like you wanting to build this TV station, to show the real face of Pakistan, because it's awful when you're just watching and everything is misportrayed.
So now you are you are in London. You are now a British citizen as well. So that's great.
Been in London since '89 now. I didn't go back. I never went back.
So throughout, you are more Londoner than
they spend more time in London than in Hamburg. I know. Yes.
And now you married. You just told me, and that's very good, excellent.
To an Englishman who very kindly converted to Islam, and he, it's also completely grown on him, and he sees the truth in it. Alhamdulillah.
That is the essence of it, and people need to convert for the intellectual reason, not because. And sometimes there has to be somebody as a catalyst.
Exactly.
I agree with that, and
that makes it easy.
Makes it easy because you see a role model, and then you. So what are you currently doing? So that's very important because you are doing this Convert Club. Let me just show it to the camera. And this is the Convert Club. They can capture, or we'll put it separate. And just tell us about this.
It happened, in during just before COVID. Actually, Al Manar Mosque in Notting Hill. They wanted to do something.
Your journey started.
I know, indeed. Funny that. They wanted to do something for converts, and I had a discussion with the director. And he said, well, why don't you do it? And I was happy to contribute something actually practical on a day-to-day or, on a physical, face-to-face basis, speaking to converts, their issues, whatever. And then COVID happened. So we had to do something online and that's fine. So for all of Ramadan, that Ramadan in 2020, I did once a week an online talk. And COVID was raging, etc. So we stayed online. We started the Convent Club from nothing online, and it's became a once a week Zoom program with a scholar or any kind of person who has a contribution or a story to tell. Next week we have a nutritionist, talking about something. Last week we had actually Syed Salman Chishti from Ajmer Sharif. Yeah, so very diverse. We have scientists, artists, psychiatrists, coaches, whatever. And every other week we have our scholar, in-house scholar, Sheikh Haitham Tamim from the Utruj Foundation. And he goes through major principles of Islam with us. And it's just so good. And I tell you, we have it's Convert Club and Friends. So anybody who wants to learn with us is welcome. We have people from Pakistan, from everywhere. Europe, America, South Africa.
Very rich, I could see.
From nothing we started, I'm now sending the emails once a week to over 900 people. And but usually they tune in. We are about 20 to 30 who tune in on a Tuesday, and then they can watch the program the following day as well. And we have a WhatsApp group. And you know why I did it? Because as a convert, you can be quite alone. Because some people get disinherited from their parents. Some people lose their old friends. I've lost some dear friends I thought were friends who just couldn't accept that I'm Muslim, I don't drink alcohol anymore, etc. And you can be in a bit of a lonely place. And this is just a wonderful resource of knowledge, social
we'll definitely promote
networks.
Yes.
And sometimes we do events as well, like, for example, Eid or Iftar events and things like that. Social gatherings as well we do, So they are a community. We've created a community now.
Really, all your knowledge and experience is coming to some. So is this your main
so that's just voluntary.
Are you doing any?
That's voluntary. And sometimes I get asked to host something like tonight, which there's a film night at Al Manar about Ibn Battuta, the great traveler.
Yes.
So I'm hosting that. But what I do professionally is I sell artworks. Blue chip artworks. Sometimes, once I had a Gulji as well that I was able to sell, or other, Pakistani artists. But
we'll definitely need your help. We were looking for some painting last night. I was talking with my family.
Mainly it's the more like, the Picasso or Monet, like modern and impressionist, like the blue chip paintings. That's what my passion has become. I've re-educated myself. You can't be necessarily doing this TV hosting forever, because you see, if you're in the mainstream, you have to compromise a lot.
Yes.
It's just like if you're in politics, and mainstream politics as a Muslim, you have to make a lot of compromises on TV as well. I remember the last program on NBC, just to tell you, it was a cultural program that I hosted. It was called The Ticket NBC. Okay, so so guess what? In the last program, they put together as a joke all the programs I didn't like. One about a gay parade, the next one about a transvestite thing, the next one about shock art, where they have awful, suggestive, horrible things like pornography and art mixed together and stuff like that. And see, that's what popular culture is.
Yeah, where the world is going
nowadays. And you see, as a presenter, I found it more and more difficult to announce these kind of items with passion. It was fake. I couldn't carry on doing it. So I decided to do something different. And that is now promoting selling beautiful, very special art.
Yeah. Excellent. That's very good. Excellent. Well, before we conclude our interview, there's two things I would like to talk about. One, you were telling me how impressed you are with a very Pakistani music genre, Qawwali.
Yeah, I started loving Qawwali. I got to know it. Actually, the first time somebody gave me a tape by Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan was at the Pink Floyd the Wall concert.
Oh, I see. Yes, 1992, right? No, 94.
This was earlier in Berlin. It was like
Berlin.
1991 when the wall had just come down. There was a nice Pink Floyd concert, and I met one of the big
David Gilmour, Roger.
No, none of those people, but someone who was working for Interview magazine in America.
I see.
And he was a great fan of Nusrat. And after all, it was Peter Gabriel who put Nusrat on the map. And so he introduced me first. And then Imran, of course, did all his fundraising events with Nusrat. And then I met Nusrat and met him several times. And then and Imran translated the lyrics. And it was just heartbreakingly beautiful.
Yes.
And I ended up announcing his tour dates on MTV as well.
Okay. Oh.
To promote the concert.
I think we should have another interview with you. Inshallah. Only in the spirituality Islam and the Qawwali. So that's fascinating.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, no,
I'm a great fan, really.
Yes. So it's a totally different ball game. TV. What are the current music genres are? I don't want to finish it, but it is. We have to finish our interview. It is such captivating. Before I go, I would like you to give a message to our audience, especially those people who have views about Islam and those people who are the very fresh converts.
Well, stick to your faith, keep to the rope of Allah, and be gentle with other people, and portray your loving face, your loving love for humanity, not to be sort of isolated only in your own sect or tribe, but love all of humanity. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was a mercy for all of mankind, and in fact all the universe, all the animals in fact also. So love for all, malice for none.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a beautiful message. And with that, I say thank you very much, Kristiane, for coming here. And I'm sure that we'll see you again very soon.
Inshallah. Thank you.
So, dear audience, we had a very fascinating and captivating conversation with Kristiane Baker, who needs no introduction. And we are absolutely delighted and honored that Kristiane has joined us and shared with us not only the pearls of wisdom, but also her journey to our beautiful religion, Islam. And especially impressive it was to see that none other than Imran Khan, who is the political leader of Pakistan and the former Prime Minister, who introduced Kristiane Baker to Islam in early 90s, which led to the ignition of that flame, and Kristiane became Muslim and did her Shahada. So thank you very much for watching this program. I hope that you are as entertained as I am. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe our channel. And until my next program, I say thank you very, very much and goodbye from our London studios.